Keep us moving. Thanks for being here. We're at the end of the orientation day, and so some of you are sick of seeing me. I'm sorry about that in advance. In addition to overseeing our orientation programs, one of the other roles I have is overseeing our off-campus student life program. So again, my name is Josh. I'm an assistant dean of students here at St. Thomas, and I'm happy to talk to you about living off campus. Everyone in here is intending to live off campus next fall, right? Or thinks they are. Okay, we're in the right room. Great. I have a lot of information I'm going to try to move through very quickly, but I want to say up front, I'm very comfortable with questions throughout. So raise your hand, shout, "Hey Josh," throw something at me, whatever works, because I want to answer as many of your questions as possible. Okay? Just to give you a brief overview of off-campus student life, with about 60% of our undergraduate students living off campus, that's close to 3,300 students. So we can't serve and help everyone all the time. So we tend to focus on two main populations. We focus on our first-year students who are commuting, so not living on campus, all of you here. And then we also focus on our students who are renting in the neighborhood around St. Thomas, which might be some of you here. Those are the two populations that we think it's worth investing the most time in. Not that we won't help anyone, but most of our efforts, our programs, our events center around one of those two populations. But really, wherever you're coming from, whether it's across the street or across the metro or out of state, we're here to help you out. We have a variety of staff. There's me as the assistant dean. We have a graduate assistant. His name is Joel. He starts with us in August, is really excited to get to meet all of you. And so you'll get a chance to meet with him once the fall comes. We have an office manager, an undergraduate student who manages our resource room space. And actually, my hope is to take all of you real quickly there, just so you can see it and know where it is, right at the end of this session. It is on your way out, I swear. You got that on video, didn't you? Great, okay. We have a staff of commuter mentors, first-year students, upper-class students who commuted their first year as well. Each one of you in here will have a first-year commuter mentor assigned to you. They're a person who will reach out to you, invite you to programs, connect you with what's happening on campus, be a resource if you have questions. Just like our resident students have their resident advisor in the residence halls, we want you to have a mentor and an advisor as well out here. The main difference is they won't go knock on your door to invite you to things, because that'd be a little creepy. But they'll still invite you to things, just not by knocking on your door. And then we have our neighborhood student advisors who plan different initiatives in education and programming for those students renting near campus. So after doing this session for about 8 years now, it really seems most of my commuter families and students have questions around these three areas. How am I going to get to school? And how am I going to park when I get here if I'm driving? Where and how am I going to eat? And how do I manage time as a person who doesn't live here? Does that sound like kind of where most of y'all's questions are? I'm seeing a lot of nods. Thank you for the nods. That helps me. And if I make bad jokes, feel free to groan. It's fine. You can laugh, whatever works. So I'm going to go through these topic areas. If there's something that isn't up here, or if I don't touch something you have a question about, again, please be sure to ask it. Starting with transportation and parking, most of our students who come to campus come one of two ways. They either drive or they bus. If you want to drive, to park on campus, you need to purchase a parking permit. A commuter parking permit is $105 for a semester or $200 for the year. That allows you to park on a variety of surface lots as well as our Anderson parking facility for no additional charge up until from about 2 a.m. until 5 a.m. It's just no overnight parking, so there's a lot of flexibility with that. The Anderson parking facility really is the best place to park with a commuter parking permit. It's never been full. You can just pull right up to the gate, swipe your student ID if you've purchased a parking permit, it opens right up for you. There's no additional cost to park there. And it's shaded from the sun on a day like today, and it's covered from snow in the winter, which we get plenty of those too. So, and finally, it's the closest parking to this building, which is really the center of student life on this campus. $200 a year, I would never call that cheap. A lot of you are paying a lot to be here already, and another $200 on top of that is more money. I will say it is the least expensive parking permit on campus. Resident students all pay more for their parking permits if they choose to have one. Faculty and staff, pay more, I hit the microphone, pay more if we choose to park on campus. So we do try to make it reasonable for our commuter students who are choosing to park on campus. Another thing I'll mention is if you're driving, there's a number of services public safety offers. They can get you into your car if you've locked your keys in there. They can give you a jump start if it won't start for some reason. Having used both those services since I've been here, I can tell you they work. Again, that's a bad joke, but it's true. I have used them. And then also, they have a walking escort program. So if you call them up, they will walk anywhere on campus or up to 6 blocks off campus with you. So if you're studying late in the library and you want to walk back to your car and it's dark and you're parked in the Anderson parking facility, call them up. They'll have someone out to you in 5 minutes and we'll walk across campus with you. I know some people think, we are a really safe campus. We're still in an urban environment. You can't be too careful. Some people, especially those of my gender, think we're tough and don't need that walking escort. Let me tell you another reason to do it. 9 times out of 10, they pull up with a public safety vehicle and will give you a ride. So quicker in a vehicle, and in winter, that's a great service. So I recommend it no matter what. To purchase a parking permit, you need to register a vehicle's information in Murphy online ahead of time. You won't be able to do that yet today. It doesn't really open up until August, and then you have to actually purchase the permit in person. One last thing about purchasing the permit in person, parking permits aren't enforced the first week of class. So the gates on the parking facility are open, the surface lots, anyone can park in them. The really great thing about that is you can come, go to your first class, and then go get your parking permit and you won't get a ticket. The challenging thing about that is a lot of other people know that parking permits aren't required that first week, so there are more people parking on campus that week than there might otherwise be. And so you want to build in a little extra time that first week to make sure you find a spot. Yes? Mm-hmm.
Car, can he register a second vehicle, so if his car is in the shop, he can take it?
Absolutely, yes. So you can register more than one vehicle in the Murphy Online system. It's very easy. Yep, thank you for asking.
Where do you go in person to get the permit?
Parking and Transportation Services is on the first level of Murray Herrick, which is the building all the students were in this afternoon getting their class schedule. So it's just off that big lounge that they were hanging out in. And we have a couple of options that'll help you get that and find it too, that I'll come to at the end, a couple of specific things. Using the bus is another great option. We have offered Metro Transit discounted passes for $150 a semester. You're doing your math and saying, wait, that's a lot more than the parking permit. Yes, it is, but you can use it 24/7 as long as Metro Transit's running. So the parking permit only is good when you're coming to campus, parking, and then going back. If you want to get to a concert on the weekend, a job, when you're not here on campus, you can still use that Metro Transit pass. It's unlimited. It includes the light rails. And you're not paying insurance, gas, auto maintenance on top of the parking permit costs as well. So for a lot of folks, it is definitely a cheaper option. It may or may not be the best option, and folks have to figure that out. We have 2 stops that come right to campus, another that's 2 blocks away. All 3 of those stops run to the Green Line light rail up on University, so we're incredibly convenient from a Metro Transit standpoint. Additionally, we have a shuttle bus that runs between our St. Paul and Minneapolis campus. During the school year, that's every 20 minutes. It's departing one campus, heading to the other. So I've worked with students over the years, I'll come to you. I've worked with students over the years who will take a park and ride Metro Transit into the Minneapolis Transit Station at Target Field and then walk the 3 blocks or take another quick bus over to our Minneapolis campus, which is right in downtown Minneapolis on Harmon, and then hop our shuttle to get over because that's quicker than taking Metro Transit the whole way. I worked with another student who just graduated who, for her whole time here, she was at home. Her dad worked in downtown Minneapolis, so she got a ride in the morning. He dropped her off at the Minneapolis campus. She took the shuttle over. She took the shuttle back and got a ride back out at the end of the day. So she never paid for transportation at all. Did I answer your question? No.
Yes, I know. What about during the school year, like Saturday and Sunday?
It still runs on Saturday and Sunday. As you get later into the evenings, it slows down a little bit. If you went to stthomas.edu/shuttle, you can see the semester and the school and the summer schedules that are posted right there. It's not every 20 minutes on Saturday and Sunday, but it is at least every hour still. Yep. Other questions? Those are my 2 transportation slides. I try to make it quick.
Street parking?
That is a really good question. So the only street parking anywhere near our campus that isn't permit regulated by the city of St. Paul are the sides of streets that touch our campus property. The neighborhood around us doesn't have a lot of off-street parking, and so the neighbors over many decades have gotten the street parking around here very regulated. So you need a resident permit often to park on most of the streets near us. And those street parking that touches our campus tend to fill up pretty early in the morning, or if someone finds a spot, sometimes they leave their car for a bit. It is rare that people pull that off. It does happen. More often than not, I work with a student who actually ends up paying more in parking tickets to the city of St. Paul than they would have paid if they had just purchased a parking permit for our campus. I wouldn't recommend the gamble. But thank you for asking that question. Anything else about transportation? I can come back if something triggers you, but food, because we're all hungry here at the end of the day, so we're going to talk about food. Before I talk about what to eat and how to make it work, I have an ask, and my ask is this, that the students be equipped to easily eat in the View, the cafeteria where we ate today. I'm going to tell you why I'm asking that, and then I'll tell you how to do it, or give you some recommendations on how. Here's the why. I just told you the majority of our undergraduates live off campus, but 92% of our first-year students live on campus. That's why we're in the small room here and they're in the big room down the hall. And so those students who live on campus have to purchase a meal plan, and that meal plan has them eating at least 10 meals a week in our main cafeterias, normally more than that. And so it's an easy thing to picture. You're in Theo 101 with other first-year students, right? It gets done at noon, and they say, hey, let's go grab lunch together. And that is awesome. I want you to be able to do that. If those are residential students, they're going to want to go eat in the View. And I'm not saying you have to say yes every time. I'm not saying you have to be equipped to it. But I would hate for you to miss out on some of those connections with your peers, with your fellow first-year students, because you felt like you couldn't do that. And so that's why I want to frame that as an ask. Now let me get into some of the how. There's two ways to typically eat in the View. The first is a meal plan, and the other is to pay the door price. So here's what the meal plan talks about. These numbers over here are how many meals each meal plan has in a semester. So the 150, which is actually the smallest meal plan a first year living on campus can purchase, has you able to eat 150 meals in the View in a semester. There's about 15 weeks in a semester, so that's where that 10 comes from. It costs $1,800, $1,860. With that, you get $240 of flex. Flex is money that you can use in other dining locations, dollar for dollar, a la carte. So if someday you want just a sandwich down in Tees, one of our other dining venues, you pay your $5 of flex, and you get a $5 sandwich. So to get this last column, which is the price per meal, I took the total cost minus the flex divided by the number of meals. Does that make sense? So that gives me that $10.80 per meal for that 150 meal plan. Now if we go over to the next slide, or the side on the right, you'll see what the door prices is, including tax, if you want to eat in the View. So for commuters, I tend to look at the lunch price, because that is the meal most commuters are eating on campus. Now, if you're in a sport and you have evening practices, a lot of teams go to dinner together. Or if you would plan on being on campus for a lot of evening activities, dinner might be a better thing to look at. But I'm going to just look at lunch real quickly. You'll see it costs you $10.25 to get a lunch in the View. And hopefully you saw today, it's good food. You get a lot of food for that price, a lot of options. Well, that $10.25 is more than the per meal cost of that 150 meal plan. So if you think you're going to primarily eat lunches on campus, that 150 meal plan probably doesn't make sense for you. You'd probably be better off just paying cash at the door. You'd get a better value. The other thing, the View accepts cash, credit card, check, and it accepts UST Express, which is basically you turn your ID into a debit card. You can pre-deposit money, and then you can swipe it. It's used at on-campus locations, including the bookstore, the dining places, as well as some off-campus places. And what's cool about that is if you're depositing over $50, you get a 5% bonus. So if you were to deposit $200 for Express, you'd actually get $210 to spend, or almost a free lunch, is one way to look at that. So I think for a lot of commuters, if they're going to eat in the View, Express makes a lot of sense, because they're probably not going to eat 5 lunches and 5 dinners every week, right? Which is where that 150 is. If you want to take a picture of this or use this in your conversations later, please feel free to. Dining Services doesn't do this math. I was a math major in undergrad, so I like to break it down for people because I think this is important. Because I want you to be able to make the decisions that make the most sense for you and your family. And for some folks, a meal plan is absolutely a great choice. And I'm not shy about this. I don't mind if Dining Services knows I do this, because I'm still encouraging you to eat at their places, because I do think eating the View is a really great option. Unfortunately, you can't enter, because it's an all-you-can-eat venue, you can't go, like, bring your lunch into the View to eat with folks. You need to be eating there and pay the entry. Does this make sense? Are there questions about that? I'm seeing some no's no questions. I can come back to it. Oh, yeah.
Do you have to buy a meal plan before school starts, or can they go and say, oh geez, a week's gone by, I really need to get out?
Great question. You do not have to buy the meal plan right away. Once you purchase a meal plan, you can't really downgrade it, but they'll always sell you more. So, absolutely. And they will prorate it a little bit for the semester, typically as well.
Is that, so if you don't use it up in a semester, it's gone?
It's gone. The meals are use it or lose it. The difference is Express rolls over semester to semester, year to year. My joke is always, if you could put $10,000 on in Express at the beginning of your first year and not spend it all, anything over $5 when you graduate, you get refunded back to you. The Express stays your money. The meal plans are use it or lose it. Great. Yes?
Is there like a page on the website that tells us about USD Express?
There is. If you go to the card office's website, it's a little counterintuitive, but the card office is where they talk about the Express program a lot. And there you can find the link and the app to be able to deposit the funds. 2 days ago when we did this session, someone was trying to deposit right in the session and they said they couldn't yet. So I think you still have to wait a little bit before you make a deposit, but it'll probably be more like August. But that website at the card office also includes all the places off campus that take Express as well. Was there another question that I saw? I'll take that as a no. There's other places to eat on campus besides the View. I want to make sure people know about that as well. Tees is a sandwich and burger place down on the first floor. Scooters is more like pizzas and calzones and that kind of stuff, also on the first floor. Great food. I love eating at both places. You can tell I love eating in general. The Bins is the cafeteria on the south end of campus. Tends to serve fewer people, so they have a little fewer options, but I would say as good as the food here in the View is, the quality in the Bins picks up a little bit. It's a little bit more home cooked style because they're cooking for fewer people. Burger Bar down at the Bins is fantastic, and every day they have hard scoop ice cream. You're smiling because you know what I'm talking about. It's good stuff. All right, or please feel free to come to Off-Campus Student Life, the space I'm going to show you here at the end of this session. We have a refrigerator and a freezer, full-size fridge and freezer. So if you need to bring your lunch in the morning, put it in there. Come back at the noon hour, heat it up in our microwave. You can eat it with us. You can take it somewhere else. We definitely want to be able to have options for you. You don't have to only eat at these dining locations on campus. Please know there's a lot of options. We also have chairs, seating, staff. It's a good community down there. The idea is it can be your home base while you're on campus, between classes, or whenever you want to be. Pretty similar. The Bins is almost identical, and then Tees and Scooters are a la carte, so it's a $6 sandwich or salad or something like that. Yep. I'm moving to time and managing time, which is also the section where I'm going to give you some free food options as well, so that is another calculation in the decisions you make around food. So we know both from our own institutional data as well as national research that folks who are involved in at least 2 or 3 things on campus outside of the classroom actually do better. And that may seem counterintuitive. It may seem, if I come, I go to class, I do well in class, I do my homework, I go home, I come back, go to class, that's the best way to succeed. And certainly there are people who do that. But the involvement outside of the classroom invests you in the educational experience overall. And we have a lot of things happening on this campus that supplement what you're learning in the classroom, can engage you with other people, and really give you a broader base of education. There's so much happening at St. Thomas that your tuition dollars go to that have nothing to do with your time in the classroom. And so you want to be able to take advantage of it. There are a lot of things that involvement can be, though. The first thing I want to talk about is clubs and organizations, which I'm sure some of you are rolling your eyes because you've heard about these clubs and orgs 5 times already at least today. But we have over 140. One of the things I point out is that pretty much every major has a club attached to it. So if you're thinking about an accounting major, and I picked that because it's first in the alphabet, there's an accounting club. Well, you're probably not taking any accounting classes this first semester, but if you want to learn more about what accounting is and talk to people who are taking classes in accounting and learn a little bit about that experience, hear speakers who are working in the accounting field, go to the accounting club. You might come to the end of your first semester and go, I hate accounting, having never taken an accounting class, and try something else your second semester. And that's great. Or you might come out your first semester and say, I love accounting. I can't wait to stay connected to this group. That's also fantastic. And I pick accounting and I pick majors because I think that's an easy thing. Most of the commuters are really focused on their academics in a lot of ways, and that's fantastic. This is a way that easily connects to what you're doing in the classroom and what your end goals are. Easy things like networking, right? You're going to connect with people who are upperclassmen, can talk to you about the classes, maybe have books to sell you at a discounted rate because they're done using them. Things like that can help you out. Most of our clubs meet over Convo Hour. How many people know what Convo Hour is? Very few. Great. Convo Hour is every Tuesday and Thursday from 11:45 to 1:15. During that time, every week, there is no class. None of you got a schedule that had class during that time, and you never will during your time here at St. Thomas. It's a time set aside in the middle of the day, twice a week, for our community to come together. And so since the clubs know you're free at that time, that is a great time for them to meet. And I love it for the students who live off campus because it's a time in the middle of the day. I didn't come here for undergrad, I went somewhere else. The only time clubs met was at 9 o'clock at night. And if you were an off-campus student, you had to decide, do I stay around for 4 hours when I'm done with class at 5? Or do I go home and come back? Probably not going to do that with a 4-hour gap in between. So Convo Hour is right in the middle. So I will say, if you have a class schedule that doesn't start until 1:30 on Tuesdays or Thursdays, A, good for you. No, it's fine. B, try to come earlier, because if you don't, you're going to miss out on some things. If you have a class schedule that ends at 11:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, try to stay a little bit later before you go to whatever else you have going on, because if you don't, you're going to miss out on some things. Here's the other thing, that twice, if you do 2 clubs a week, many of the clubs have free food. It's often pizza, it's not always pizza, but it's free food, which is my favorite kind of food. And so you could get 2 lunches a week and not have to pay for them and get the benefits of being connected to a club. That's why I talk about clubs so much for commuters. It's pretty convenient, the free food certainly doesn't hurt, and it's really valuable for what you're trying to do here. So that's clubs and orgs. Lots of other things you can do as well. On-campus jobs are a great way to get involved. Maybe you have 2 hours between classes 3 times a week. That's not enough time for you to go to your off-campus job, work a shift, and come back for your next class, but that's probably enough time to work an on-campus job. Those of us who employ students around here know we have to fit into your class schedules. That's the whole point. We're happy to do it, and that's the only way you get access to that federal financial aid work-study funds. So get an on-campus job. It's great. Speakers, lectures, events, there's obviously tons of things happening around this campus all the time, some of which directly connect to what you're learning, some of which are just really interesting, and you'll never have an opportunity like these next 4 years to engage in those kind of things. Study groups, research opportunities, right? Like find those people in your class and connect with them so you can study together. There's some formal opportunities in some disciplines and obviously plenty of informal opportunities. Those connections matter. The thing is, I want you all to be thinking about and talking about that now before you come back in September. I know many of you are living at home, and that comes with family responsibilities. Maybe you have an off-campus job that without that you couldn't even afford to come to St. Thomas. I get it. I would have been in the same boat. Those are important. I'm not saying give those things up, but start having those conversations now about how you're going to balance these things and both invest in your time here at St. Thomas and get the most out of it, and also manage those responsibilities and obligations and important things happening at home as well. Talk about it now, come to some understandings, especially for those who are at home, right? Do your folks expect you home at 10, or could you stay later? Those are real questions, especially if it's their car, not yours. I get it. My 8-year-old hasn't challenged me on that yet, but I know it's coming. No, sorry, bad joke. And also expect those conversations to happen again in late September and October as students are more invested in the community and have developed a rhythm, right? And get a sense of what's going on. That's kind of the thing I would say. We have some programs in off-campus student life. I've talked about the commuter mentors already. They'll start reaching out to you in August, probably mid to late August. They'll reach out via email, your St. Thomas email. Please get used to checking that. I know email is out of date and no one cares about email. Guess what? When you graduate, you're going to get a job that requires you to pay attention to email, so start practicing it now. Did you have a question?
Do they have to sign up for a community?
You do not. It's automatic. We'll get you one. And again, all of these are upperclassmen students who commuted their first year as well, so they've lived that experience. The Commuter Resident Partnership, this is a program you need to sign up for. I know some of you had a chance to at the information fair today. This program, if you sign up, we pair you with a residence hall floor, so you become an honorary member of that floor community. The RA invites you to all the events that the floor and the hall are doing. You get connected to the people who are living there. And to make that even easier, we give you guest access to the residence halls, so that as you're connecting with those people, instead of calling them to let you into the building that's secured 24/7, you can swipe your ID and get in and connect with them very, very easily. If you didn't get a chance to sign up at the information fair, I will have a sign-up sheet down in Off-Campus Student Life. So there's my carrot to really get you to follow me down there at the end of this. And the last thing, we have a commuter learning community every year. This year it starts with the Philosophy 115 class in the fall with Dr. Gloria Frost. This happens from about 10:30 to noon on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if you're in that time slot with Dr. Frost in Philosophy 115, you're in this community. Two great things. It is one class with only commuters, and it's actually like prime time. Everyone loves that time of day. And it's one of your classes. You're going to get lots of opportunities to connect with a lot of other folks as well, but every student who's come out of that says they really like having that shared experience opportunity as well. And when Academic Counseling was building your schedule, they left the noon hour open on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so that we can use that time to do some workshops, get you engaged with some different resources, and probably have some free food as well again. Oh, I forgot to change something. The blue circle is supposed to say August 29th, but the font got messed up when I moved the PowerPoint over here. So someone called me on it 2 days ago and I forgot to change it. So on August 29th, we will invite all of you back to campus for a welcoming picnic to start the year. All of the first-year commuters and their families are welcome back. We'll have a chance to get together, to meet your commuter mentor, to get some questions answered, to just start to engage and form that community. And the parents and guests are invited, and I can answer any and all questions that I answered today or new ones that have come up. You'll notice one of the things is we talked the bookstore and parking and transportation services into staying open late that day so that you can come a little early and get that parking permit or bus pass or get some of those used books before the on-campus students move in 2 days later and start to try to get them. You could also rent a locker here in this building during that time as well. So we want to get you a chance to get set up right away at the beginning. And again, we will have lots of food there for you to eat and enjoy. So again, August 29th. I'm sorry that doesn't say that. I will fix it. Sorry for the Friday group, but that doesn't help you. After that Wednesday, starting Friday, we start our welcome days for first-year students. So Friday, August 31st through Tuesday, September 4th is welcome days. A full 4 or 5 days of required and really great events for first-year students to start the year off right. That starts that night. We'll start that evening with a meeting again. We'll talk through some business, get some of those connections, and then also go to dinner afterwards and stay on campus for the rest of the events that night. There's a lot happening. It's a ton of fun, and I'm supposed to show you this video, so I'm going to do that. So some of that feels really overwhelming as an introvert. I watch that and I get a little overwhelmed. So there was a lot of big crowd scenes. It's a ton of fun, and it's a couple of days that really start the year off right. There's a lot of opportunity to come and go. The full schedule will be online in a couple of days. It is required for first years. We do need you there. And so we'll give you more details here in the next couple of weeks. You'll start to get a letter from me in early August to your email that gives you a little bit more detail. But especially for that August 31st at 5 p.m., we'll look forward to seeing you in the John Roach Center. That's what I have. Like I said, I'd love to take you to Off-Campus Student Life, which is on the second floor of this building. So we'll just go down the stairs and down the hall. But are there any questions before we start moving? It would be good for everybody. I'm available for questions too once we get down there. Great. I'll see you. I'll lead the way.